Hello, welcome back to the DCS Debrief Defensive BFM series at the Air Warfare Group. In the last video we discussed how to react to the Bandits' initial moves at their turn circle entry to force errors, but ultimately saw the fight collapse into a defensive spiral. This time we'll look at how to change the geometry of the fight to continue to present new problems to the Bandit after the initial break. Remember, I'm not a fighter pilot. If you've watched any of my other videos you'll have heard all the usual caveats. Let's crack on. Every aircraft has strengths and weaknesses which affect their ability to perform BFM. Because of the need to enter a defensive break turn to defeat Bandit weapons and create immediate BFM problems, defensive BFM quickly becomes a descending nose-tail fight. Instead of just waiting to die, you must use any time you have to present new problems and decisions to the Bandit. Remember that errors only come from decisions, so you must force the Bandit to make as many decisions as possible while minimizing your own error probability. The US Navy calls this redefining the fight, and others might refer to the tactics in isolation, such as tightening down, squatting the jet, or forcing a particular geometry. The list goes on. Given the preeminent use of the openly available US Navy FTIs among the DCS community, I will stick to their nomenclature and refer to these techniques as redefinitions. This presentation will explain the purpose of redefinitions, their geometry, and how to fly them. By the end of this video you'll understand the importance of correctly timing your redefinition, the geometry and mechanics of two types of redefinition, and redefinition cues. While redefining the fight, it is important to understand when it will have maximum effect. Redefinitions are designed to give the Bandit a lot of range, angles and closure problems and shot follow-on decisions very quickly. Therefore, redefining too early has the potential to waste altitude or give away turning room above you to the Bandit, while it is still relatively easy for them to adjust to the new regime. Redefinition should therefore ideally be carried out just before the Bandit attains a firing solution. However, and this is really important, waiting too long may give the Bandit time to get rounds onto you. If in doubt, redefine. Redefine when you can no longer pull the Bandit forward in the canopy or hold off their nose, but well before their weapon seekers become a factor. Now let's talk about what to do. The rate radius redefinition is used by aircraft that have a relatively low thruster weight compared to the Bandit, but have poor high alpha handling. In this instance, it's necessary to use gravity as the energy source to rapidly increase turn rate and decrease radius, presenting the Bandit with a new turn circle which they must correctly enter. A rate radius defense means committing nose low, and this means that your angle of bank will be critical in providing you with the means to manage your energy. Increasing angle of bank will lower your nose and add energy as you descend faster, allowing you to pull more G and increase rate while decreasing radius. Less angle of bank will raise your nose and will mean that you need to ease to maintain performance. This means you will now use angle of bank to manage Bandit movement in the canopy. Roll on angle of bank to select a lower nose attitude and stop them moving aft. Roll off to select a higher nose attitude and stop them moving forward. Your goal is a stable position without sacrificing too much turning room above at the deck. To perform a rate radius defense, overbank to around 135 degrees by rolling to place the Bandit around halfway between your lift vector and the upward wing. Increase your pull to stay on the lift limit. There are two common errors in this maneuver. Firstly, not rolling far enough. If you don't roll far enough, then your aircraft will not be far enough below the horizon relative to the Bandit to force them to decide between shooting or following. Insufficient vertical displacement will allow them to do both. Secondly, rolling so far that you are almost committing into the vertical nose down. This presents several problems. Firstly, you might end up fighting the deck, as the aircraft accelerates downhill and provides you with a poor deck transition and the Bandit with an easy follow. Secondly, you're forcing yourself to decide between giving the Bandit turning room as you roll back horizontal or forcing yourself into a vertical upline, gifting the Bandit with an easy over-the-top gunshot. And finally, the very nose-low position may cause you to reach the aircraft load limit with speed still increasing, needlessly expanding your turning circle and defeating the object of the defense. A well-flown rate radius defense rapidly decreases the size of your bubble and reorientates the fight. This immediately places the Bandit outside of your turn circle. As you already know, this will allow your nose to rotate towards the Bandit. The Bandit must recognize the redefinition, roll and correctly time their follow while they are losing angles because they are outside of your bubble. The errors to watch for are the same as for a normal turn circle entry. the Bandit will either be early, late or nailed. If the Bandit is early, then their nose will initially come on, but they will be moving forward in the canopy. Raise your nose to stabilise the Bandit in the canopy and avoid giving away any more turning room above that they could use for an out-of-plane lag manoeuvre. Maintain your pull to collapse range and defend against the gun as required. The Bandit will either overshoot or correct, against which you can counter as with their initial turn circle entry, or just ease your pull to gain energy. If the Bandit was late, then again you'll see them move forward in the canopy, but this time you will see more plan view because you're outrating them. You can raise the nose slightly, but it's important that you maintain your best rate speed by easing the pull. As the Bandit follows, tighten back to your max performance pull and use varied angle of bank to keep them stable in the canopy. You should arrive at the deck with more energy for a rate war. If the Bandit nails the follow, you'll see their aspect stabilise. Provided that you maintain a limit pull, angle of bank now controls Bandit position in the canopy and your aim is to keep them stationary. Pull as required if you see their nose coming on. The desired end result of this redefinition is to force an error as you descend so that you can win back some angles and have a better position at the deck, allowing you to further increase time to kill. The vertical nose-to-nose defence, also called a ditch by the US Navy, is effectively an attempt to force the fight into a nose-to-nose or one-circle flow downhill. It grants a fighter with a small vertical turn radius the chance to neutralise the fight if the Bandit is unable to follow. The aim of the vertical nose-to-nose defence is to rotate your aircraft as rapidly as possible through 180 degrees nose low with minimum height loss, forcing the Bandit to risk an overshoot with a rushed follow or take the time necessary to generate adequate turning room that you can use to take back angles. To perform a nose-to-nose defence, roll your aircraft to place the Bandit on the same place on the other side of your canopy. If you have trouble achieving this, a roll to pure inverted will do. Then make a maximum performance pull, bleeding energy, and modulate power as required to manage your energy. As your nose comes up to the horizon, roll to get your lift vector on the Bandit again and pull to collapse range. You are attempting to convert their lag pursuit into lead and force the fight nose to nose. Remember that as with all nose to nose fights, reversals will be required, and if the Bandit does not flush out early on, then the fight will likely collapse into a scissor. Common errors are insufficient pull, floating the turn and building airspeed going downhill. This will simplify the Bandit's job in following you with all the downsides of a vertical commitment described as for the rate radius defence. Starting the follow-on with the nose too low. This will preserve turning room above you for the Bandit to exploit. You may force an in-close flight path overshoot from the Bandit at the redefinition entry, or at the subsequent nose-high turn. Reversal cues are covered in a later video, but are far from guaranteed by this defence. A good Bandit will be able to continue to force nose-to-tail flow by controlling their overshoot. Look for the cues of an early or late entry into your new turn circle and react accordingly. Take any opportunities to build energy again while their nose is off. Remember that if the Bandit continues to fly good BFM, then you will only be able to hold their nose off until you both reach the deck. You are bidding for time and errors that will come as a result of forcing shot or follow-on decisions from the Bandit. These redefinitions are most effective when they give the Bandit little time to react, but if you wait too long, you will get shot. Remember, your aim is survival, and that means keeping the Bandit's nose off you all the way down to the deck. Next time I'll cover how to transition to a level fight once you get there, and then we'll be into reversal cues and fighting at low energy states. Again, thanks for watching. Please click subscribe if you'd like to see more, and like the video if you found it helpful. I'll see you in the next one.